We are going to start. Which one? We are witnessless. Thank you, General. We can proceed. I think we're taking the last lap now.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson, and good evening, General. Thank you very much, Shamas. I think I just want to make a follow-up on the last question from Honorable Sangon. This issue about the so-called Zulu war. When I heard about it, my impression was that maybe it might also be a reference to Mkhwanazi and Sbiya, because I thought Sbiya can also be somebody from KZN or who's a Zulu or something like that. But you are raising another version of it. What's your comment on that?
Yeah, well, my belief was that perhaps it's amongst the people that are talking about the Zulu war, because although Sbiya being the Zulu, but is not necessarily from KZN. It is that which I thought politically between the two heads, a head and a former head of this institution, that are perceived to be in loggerheads, that seems to be suggesting that there is issues that are happening in here. And what is worse is that the two individuals that are seen in the police that have been thrown into this is myself and Gerald Khumalo, who are both from KZN. That seems to suggest something like that. But yeah, those are the things that I think about. It might be.
I just want to take you back a bit to the comment you made about, and maybe I know you have somehow commented on this issue. You do not have to go into detail. The migration of people from the police to IDEC and the impact that has had in relation to the work of IDEC and probably the relationship between the police and IDEC. In your knowledge, the people who left the police to become employees of IDEC, were some of them already engaged in some kind of a fight of one form or another with their former colleagues or with their colleagues before they departed from police to IDEC, which could have therefore sustained that and maybe heighten it by the fact that they are now at IDEC, some kind of a watchdog of some sort towards the police, and therefore might be exploiting that authority in furtherance of their own differences with their former colleagues.
Well, I'm not quite sure exactly about the people that have moved from the police to IDEC and the beef they had with the police, except I have heard of some talks about one member at IDEC with Gerald Patlane, because it looks like at one stage they were all working, I don't know if at forensic, but the other one was at the Eastern Cape, Patlane was at the head office. But there were always issues that I heard about that involves, but to what extent, I never really investigated. But that is the only person that I know to having had issues. The other one that is with IDEC is the one that is an investigating officer on Gerald Khumalo and his team. That's Padayache. Padayache is an ex-crime intelligence member with a lot of controversial things within, including the listening, illegal listening of Gerald Cele back in the days when he was still a general in the police, when he was still a national commissioner. Illegal interception of his phone, mispresentation to the judge, But that part actually left the police. I'm told he retired. And then he resurfaces at IDEC. And his interest or his involvement in this is focused on intelligence. That's why he's a lead investigator on people at intelligence. The court says, if you want something at crime intelligence, go via Padayach. So he's the only person, but whether he had any beef with anyone, I don't know. But I know that perhaps he still wants the control of the things that he had control over before he retired. And I know of the members of IP that left IP and went to IDEC. Whether some of those were in the police before, I do not know. Whether some of those were involved on issues against the police or investigation against the police, that is a fact that they moved with case dockets from IP to IDEC. And they continued with those investigations at IDEC, which is supposed to be an IP docket, but it landed at IDEC. So maybe if we do an audit of the dockets at IDEC, and then they must explain to you how those dockets got there, whether did they follow the law, are they part of what the IDEC is established for, you'll be able to get evidence.
You know, when we had Mr. Sullivan, as you would have noticed, very, very flamboyant, very colorful in terms of what he says and how he put it. But one of the things that he said, which as I listened to him, I said, when we see you, I'm going to pose that question to you, was that at some point you took over a particular company, which he says was owned by a dubious character, which in his own view, somebody at your level of leadership in the police would have known about and possibly avoid a possibility of taking over a company from a previous owner of that caliber. So, and I think from judging from what he was saying, he wanted to make an insinuation about the extent to which you are either reckless, if that is true in terms of what happened with that company, or you acquired that company from a character you knew is not a good character, but nevertheless you proceeded, because it may very well be that you have some link with that kind of a character. So I thought when we see you, we must ask you to comment on that issue, because it's obviously worrying if it's anything to go by.
Yeah, well, I listened to Mr. Paulo Sullivan. I think, honorable members, what you should be worried about is why will Paulo Sullivan come and talk about the private things that are involving police officers? He went and he dig on information about all of us. That's why he could tell the National Commissioner owns this property and that property and that property. He went to dig things about me. The only thing that he found that maybe he thought, okay, well, maybe this is questionable, was that company. So how did he get to go to that extent to finding information? What is it about? What gives him the right to do that? This is what I expect these parliamentarians to take action against, because that means the systems that are supposed to be protecting individuals out there from their privacy is not working. If a person can do that and he comes and sits in this parliament and he displays that he has done it and he walks out here without being held accountable, that's a concern, because the private is invaded. Here I am left with today's the 18th of March. 12 days time, my contract ends. I knew that back in 2021 when I took that contract, that is going to end of this March. So in my effort to try and prepare for an exit in the organization, on what do, I engage with accountants that are advising me on what I should do next. So one of the advice that perhaps I must consider buying a company, chef company, that can help me to set up opportunities going forward. So it's one of the companies they recommended to me when they did some research to establish, and there's one of the company that's on the shelf company dealing with trade and investment that I must consider looking at. So I then take over that company, buy it off. I don't see anything wrong on the character of the person, because I never really went into an investigation that Paul Sullivan did. So I buy the company, I don't even know the person. So it's a shelf company that get acquired and I pay for it and the membership, the directorate is changed. And I don't even use it because the company I'm trying to get for the future, try to set up something for the future. But then I felt, no, well, I don't think I'll be able to use this company now. So I closed it. After closing, Mr. Paul Sullivan went to dig what do I have. He discovered that I once owned this company. That's why he came to you and he spoke about the company that I've already closed. And I had bought it, but I then since closed it. I didn't close it because there were some dubious things on it. I closed it because I felt that there's no need for me to have it. So that was the reason. So what he came and he presented here is not true. And there's no criminal activities that I'm associated with the company. But again, I want to ask you to investigate what gave him authority to do that? And how did he acquire that information? Because if it's not taken to task with it, it's going to be abused, and I believe it has already.
No, General, I can give you an assurance that the conduct of Mr. O'Sullivan in the security cluster in our country, the police in particular, left so many questions for us, and it leaves a lot to be desired. And I don't think that at the conclusion of our work, we would not take any position with regard to individuals like him, who, for whatever reasons, immerse themselves into the police service and do so to a very large extent in a negative way, in a way that either creates or sustains existing problems. So I do want to give you an assurance that when we wrap up our work, it's inevitable that we must have an opinion about such characters and what needs to be done legislatively to protect that environment from possible abuse by characters such as those ones. But I mean, be that as it may, I would imagine that if you had not changed your mind, you kept the company and you proceeded with it and you discovered this information later on, you were obviously going to be worried about it if there is legitimacy to it, and probably you were going to have to change your mind and look for another company, I suppose.
That's correct.
Okay. Somewhere I read that, I can't remember on which of the papers before us, affidavits or submissions that were made, that at some point you presided over an inquiry which was dealing with some matters of discipline relating to General Khan.
That's correct.
That he got acquitted.
Yes.
With the benefit of hindsight, with what you know now about Mr. Khan, would you say that that acquittal would have been the same, could be the same if you were dealing with him today? Or there may be other factors that influence the facts that appeared before that committee, which resulted in that particular conclusion?
I would have done the same. In a matter of fact, before I went for that hearing, there were already negative stories out in the media as a result of me presiding over his case. And I already knew that he is involved in one way or another on the wrong that led in such, which he came to apologize to me about whatever that came out after I acquitted him. And I still told him that I don't want to be part of that. We're here dealing with a case that was put before you, and the evidence that was presented, he did not do anything wrong. I gave him credit. I even said he should have been applauded by the organization for what he did.
You know, General, some of us were very worried when Mr. Nkabinde was very casual about your trip to Richards Bay or Mpange, that side.
Yes.
We're very worried about that level of casuality on his part. And when you are saying today, the evidence at your disposal, beside the information, the knowledge you have, because we're part of this, is that, and that can even be corroborated by a tracker information. I wanted to ask a question: would you be comfortable to share that information with the ad hoc committee? Because I think it's, well, maybe if it's not the ad hoc committee, if for some reasons it may be a problem with the ad hoc committee, it could be another committee that deals with sensitive matters. You know, the reason why I'm raising that matter is because your intervention in this regard completely changes the storyline that we were led into by Mr. Nkabinde. Because now the trip, according to you, is right from point A to point B, as opposed to point A, point B, point C. Because the way he narrated the story and your journey, I mean, when he uses the term a boy's trip, it has certain connotations, which I'm sure you understand. So that's why I'm asking the question, in order to consolidate the evidence we are putting before us in challenging his assertion, would you be comfortable that that information become accessible?
Honourable Member, I am a citizen in this country, and I know that information can be private, but some information is public. You only need to take an ID number of a person to punch it, and you get all the profile of the things that the person owns. So a vehicle is one of those. For me to hide and say I cannot give this committee the details of that vehicle would be wrong. For transparency, I'll hand over. It is not my car, I must disclose that. It's my wife's car. She controls the tracker. I've asked her to throw me the tracker, and she went and threw the tracker and she gave it to me. So you can have it. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think she will have a problem in sharing that either. But the tracker will show you that we left the address that Mkhwanazi put on his statement on that particular date, and we stopped at Mr. Mkhwanazi's residence at Mpangi. We switched off, we went in, we drank coffee, we ate cookies. We greet each other, friendly talk, back into the car. We drove from there, we stopped in Durban. I was a driver.
No, I think, Chair, I'm raising that matter because I do remember you said the tracker is from a vehicle of your wife, and she is not before us. So we can only rely on you to engage with her to agree for that information to be made available. And I was asking precisely because I know the things relating to tracker and all of that will somehow involve ID, identity information of an individual involved. But if you say it can be made available, I think we'll appreciate that because it addresses a particular issue with regard to the purpose of the trip from Durban to northern Durban. I think the next issue I wanted to just to verify it has to do with at some point I remember you were inviting Sbia to come to the awards in KZN. And you know, sometimes because we are talking to you as police officers, one of the things that one has learned is that it's not everything that happens which is as we see it. Some of the things are happening not in a way that ordinary people, civilians like ourselves, who are not police officers, who are not trained there, will understand in the way in which, and I will tell you why I'm making this point when I'm asking the question subsequent to this one. But your invitation of SBIA to attend the awards, was it just an invitation?
You talk about the police awards?
Yes.
I did not invite him. It's national awards that were held in Durban.
Or it was national awards, so he was going to be attending because it's part of the national program.
Yeah, I invited the entire management and the police chiefs to an excursion that I was organizing. So he joined the excursion that I was hosting, but he was there for the Excellence Awards, that is a national event. I did not invite him on that one.
Okay.
I'm not sure, maybe he said I invited him for Durban July either, because I spoke to him before Durban July, before the July 6th.
No, I don't remember him saying that. And then the meeting with Sinon, General Sinon, and Major General.
I'm going to invite this commission, this ad hoc committee to start getting used to using the constitutional titles
Okay.
so that you don't get confused much about this general's rank. Say the commissioners, not.
Commissioner. Okay. But that meeting with Mr. Sinon, I think it's even safe to say Mr. Sinon and Mr. Matala. I can't remember who said to us that meeting was in one of the units at the Pearls Hotel, and that person was making a conclusion on the basis of how easy it was to access whatever that was available in that room for consumption. And the conclusion was to the extent that, no, this is Mkhwanazi's a flat or apartment. I don't know if you have commented on that since you are back with us today.
Yeah, yes, I did speak early this morning, and I tried to describe the size of that apartment, the living room. Between the dining room where we were seated, the lounge where the TV is with only one couch, that's how small it is, and the kitchen, a small kitchen that is there. So I did explain to the members that if from one point to another in that room, it will not be more than 5 meters. That's how small it is. And in one bedroom. So if somebody were to say, if Nona said, at times I will go to the bedroom, then he will have an excuse of saying he didn't hear what we were talking about. But if he claims that he had gone to the fridge to get something to drink, the fridge was literally less than 2 meters from the table where we seated. If he goes to the fridge, he did not go to the fridge. I'm just saying if he did, but he did not go there. There was no alcohol drank on the day.
It was only water.
I think it was water and some juice there.
Okay.
There's no alcohol that was drank on the day.
That issue of, I think one of my colleagues was raising this question with you earlier on, and I want to take it slightly further. Is it Tibeti or Matibeti, the person?
Matibedi.
Matibeti. The party that I want to ask you to comment on, General, is the one that, because I think you had said earlier on, after the quarrel between you and him and the court challenges or proceedings that have taken place, you started getting some people from or who are associated with this company raising all sorts of things about the way in which business is being conducted, which is not proper and in line with our laws. How do we explain, or how do you understand, but how do we explain as well the seeming coincidence that at the time when he's on a toe-to-toe with you legally, and then people start saying things that were never said to you before you had a fight with him? What could be the reason for that?
Well, I think people maybe realize that they might have been afraid to come out until they realize that someone who's not afraid of Matibeti, then they feel free. I had said that the man is closer to Getsemane, the taxi, one of the taxi bosses in KZN. Getsemane had issues with me. He still has, I believe. He has taken the police to court. He have gone to social media, podcast, and said all sorts of things about me. But I've never had anyone coming to me and say, here's something we have against Getsemane that must lead into a case. So there's no investigation that we have ever lodged against Getsemane, despite of what he had said, of how he has behaved. So this is just to indicate that I'm not going all out to target a person. He's not a person that I target. That's why when I want to talk to him, I'll call him that I want to talk to you, because I don't have issues with him. Despite of how he feels about me and the SAPS, but that's him. So Matibet did the same thing. The fact that there's investigations happening is because evidence now comes before me. Before that, I'm sure people didn't even know me. That's why they didn't raise those things. Because when I looked at how old are these things that they're raising, some of them a couple of years old, and I asked, but why these things were not spoken? They said, no, we're afraid of this man. We thought he's that powerful, he controls everything. until we see someone that can challenge him. That's why we feel that we must come to you.
You know, General, since for the past 6 months, since we started with the ad hoc committee, and I think with developments at the Nhlanhla Commission of Inquiry, I suppose the country knows a lot now, more than what we knew before then. I'm just saying, during the lifespan of the ad hoc committee, the proceedings here and the proceedings in the Commission of Inquiry, I think people are much more educated about many things that are going on. Of course, some of them are yet to be verified, yet to be confirmed. Some of them might end in court. But I would imagine that to a very larger extent, the revelations that have been playing out in the public domain on their own should serve as a deterrent in terms of other police officers or anybody else in society engaging in the wrong activities similar to what we're dealing with. But I just want to know, and of course, more and above that, being a deterrent on its own, the quality of the corrective measures that we should take as Parliament and the Executive should add even a much more important weight in avoiding the recurrence of the same or similar situation in the future. But how much of what we have learned over these proceedings was well known already to somebody like you?
And there's well, I would say 50-50, but there's quite a lot of things that has come to the fore that I was not aware of as a police officer myself. There's other information that came to me that has not gone to both of these structures that have been established that I became aware of, such as what we spoke about Matibedi as an example. Information of corruption that we start hearing about, that we, otherwise I would have known or would not have known about it. But in the sense of it, then I realize that it's across the board. And the people that are mostly in the forefront of the wrong that's happening, especially outside the police, is involving procurement issues of government. There's a lot of corruption happening in there, that people are coming forward and exposing it. And the unfortunate part is that we have decided that certain level of corruption must only be investigated by the Hawks. So even if I'm aware of it, I must now pass it to the Hawks. And then when you pass it, you don't know what happens from there onward. And that's the only unfortunate part that happens. But by and large, the things are coming up. And we are getting information about things happening in other provinces. And then when you engage people, they say, but go to the police station, open a case, and they will tell you, no, this one will go nowhere. And they'll come with some reasons as to why. And it kind of frustrates you. But that makes me realize that there's more problems that we have that otherwise are not known that we must start looking at, that the government must start looking at.
How do you suggest we deal with that, just that concern you have, that now things must be referred to the Hawks? If they are not referred to the Hawks, what else should be done? Because that may also have to do with the kind of legislation that we may have to propose at the end of our work. I'm hearing you saying something pops up and then you must refer it to the Hawks, and I get a sense that you are frustrated by that referral.
Yeah, well, I think in terms of the investigation reforms that need to have, and I'm going to invite you to take the legislation that established IDEC, that's NPA legislation. Look at what you're intending to achieve with it as government. Look at the legislation that amended the functioning of the SCPS in the establishment of the Hawks, and check what is it that the government intending to achieve with it, and then versus the South African Police Service. These are all three levels now established in the country to investigate cases. And how then you separate as a legislator, how do you separate who must do what in all these three investigating arms of our security cluster now? So if legislature takes that, because there's legislation that governs all this, then you go and look at the SOPs then that are developed amongst these three institutions. One of them is, how does IDEC take cases, who classify cases between, DPCI, who classify cases of DPCI versus the one that are dealt with in the South African Police Service separately, a normal detective service within the SAPS, and what type of case then goes to IDEC versus that which is at DPCI. So when you start looking at that and see whether there is no abuse of the system in between, does each one achieve the objective of creating a safer environment in the Republic without being frustrated by the other one? If the case lands on this one's table, that belongs into other body, how does this case moves over? Is it the senior body that comes and takes it, or is it the junior body that transfers it to the other structures? So what are the rules that are put out there? So I think we might want to investigate the cross-referencing of these three so that we're able to align it properly in terms of legislation. But in the center of all this, you have one police station that must service all the three. In the center of all this, we have one provincial commissioner that constitutionally is overseeing all these operations in the province. To what extent does this provincial commissioner have a say over what IDEC does, over what DPCI does? So those are the gaps that may need to be looked at so that you're able to close them.
I just want to go back to the question I asked earlier on and about the knowledge that you have, and you are saying 50-50 in terms of now looking back now, Commissioner, if the 31st of December did not arrive in the context of the letter from the minister, now looking back, I know it has arrived, but let's imagine it did not. And you know, almost 50% or something like that, even if it was 20% of the information that has now been displayed in the public domain. What were you going to do with it, or what were you going to do with it, or what do you think you should have done with it in an event where the 31st of December did not arrive? Not as a date, but in context, as that letter which has triggered all that has evolved up to the July press conference.
I must indicate that we have been operating, identifying some challenges, but the limitation that we had was to address those internal within the structures. Make recommendation of this, make recommendation of that. It is taken, it's not taken, and you leave it. But you see the problems, but you have a limitation in terms of addressing them. The level of involvement of senior police officers in criminality, it's something that we did not necessarily have any concrete evidence on. We will suspect. That's why I say there are colleagues that are beginning to question their lifestyle, but we're not necessarily conducting that lifestyle audit. And I kept on talking about it. You can see that this one looks like he's living large, and we don't know where he gets the money from, but nothing has been done. We therefore couldn't necessarily investigate anything going forward. We'll just leave it like that. But I think the events that took place that was informed by the letter has brought into light some of these lifestyles of these generals. Only then you get to realize, oh, this is where this thing comes from. Typical example, I was one of the people invited by Jairus Beer when he got promoted to come and celebrate with him. I declined because we're not friends. And I thought, why must I go and celebrate his promotion? We're not friends. I'm not going there. They went there. Oh Lord, Gerald Kumar was there as well. I don't know if Nhlanhla was there. Probably was there. There were a lot of them that were invited. And subsequent that there would have been other parties. But I don't think at the time anyone thought of anything about Sibia. I must be honest. He was a very fleshy guy when he worked for the Hawks before. I was in a task force and you could observe Every time there's heist, task force was in the forefront on those heists. I will be there when they come to attend those crime scenes. And he will come there. Very fancy person with fancy suits, you know, like those people that goes to these modern churches. He was always flashy, but I couldn't connect as to what makes him to look like that. So now that we know what we know now, then you then say, but we saw these things back then, but we didn't necessarily dig to establish. So this has assisted us to say, when we suspect something, we then have to start probing. And part of what we then should do is these lifestyle audits that we are complaining about, we have to be very strict about, because maybe they might reveal things while it's still early that will help us going forward. You can't have a person who, like has been already revealed, you are building a R1 million house in one spot. At the same time, you're building another R1 million house somewhere else. Who are you? Where do you get the money from? And you're driving a fancy car. So there are many signs that we might have neglected as management of the police that we saw, that we should have paid attention on. So I feel the way we're doing in terms of complaining, it's all what we could do, but there was limitation on that. Investigate when the information comes before you, but even that investigation doesn't take you far. But that's all we could do at the time.
No, thanks, Chair. I'm left with just two questions now. The last one, I'm going to be following up on your observation that part of the frustration is that things are being raised with the relevant authorities in terms of what needs to be done to, you know, to deal with problems within the police, and they are not acted upon. I'm going to come back on that issue because there is a matter I want to raise in relation to your boss, the National Commissioner, exactly around that issue. But I want to start with this one, which is, I'm saying, is the one before last. The cartel and the Big Five. Whether they are going to be confirmed at whatever point, who are they, but how do we defeat them? Because these are people that we have to defeat, given what we are told they are engaged on. From what we have heard, there is nothing that they are involved in which has got to do with our national interest. It's more about self-preservation and about their own personal interest, the advancements of those. How do we defeat them? Because at some point, we can't allow a group like that. We've got to find a way to defeat it.
Honorable members, there are a few things that they're involved in. And I feel the other two are something that maybe we might want to do something easy. I don't know about the third one, which might be a bit complicated. The third one, maybe if I must start with it, is the tenders of government. The process of how these tenders are issued and stuff like that is something that government must look at. Once a person is spoiled of always getting tenders every other place where they apply for, and they become rich, it becomes clear that for them getting these tenders is not because of exceptional things that they do that justifies it, but it's the connections they have, or maybe the envelopes that are crossing floors that leads into them getting these tenders. But that's a difficult part to address because it does not only involve the cartel squad, but majority of business people that are involved in tenders. They are benefiting from that or even affected by it. The other two environments that are more of a problem, and the second one in my list of priorities, is cash and transit heist. And I would wish government can come up with a policy once and for all that's going to regulate the movements of money in the country. That is going to regulate the cash, the utilization of cash in our country. The lesser we use cash, the better. And I don't want to hear anyone telling me that in the rural areas there's no connectivities. People in the rural areas have got phones. If they can talk on the phone, that means they can pay on the phone. So I'm not saying totally you can get rid of cash. There's always going to be cash there. Not everyone else has got a bank account. There will be cash. But limit that to the most vulnerable areas where there's not large sum of cash is used. In the urban areas, here where we're at in Cape Town, we just have no reason to pay cash in any of the shop in the Mokarong. There's not poor people that stays here. Yes, there are people sleeping on the street, but you and me can afford to pay with a card. So the moment you start introducing that, there's going to be less amount of cash that must be picked up here. A vehicle drives in the morning to come and load up ATMs. A vehicle drives in the morning and come and pick up money from the shops because we bought cash. So they have these in their drop safes. They must give it to these companies to go and bank them. So that's the second part in terms of cash in transit. And one of them, when you regulate the movement, we have suggested some typical examples that if the money is in the bag, that bag is taken from the shop to the car, when the money is in the car and this car is driving from point A to point B, there must be mandatory, at least, devices that are put into that vehicle so that there will be a robber. The moment he interferes with that truck, with that money is destroyed, cannot be used. A lot of things been tried. Ink is put into the paper. They take this paper with the ink, they get chemicals, they dump this money in the bucket overnight. The following day, that chemical is gone. They take the money and go and gamble with it. So if you can't use the money gets destroyed. There won't be need for you to even bomb the car. And explosives is a dangerous thing. So these criminals, they use it recklessly. And they're part of these drug dealers, this cartel, because it's easy money. So they blast these cars with the inside job, because they don't blast an empty car. People within, they will tell them this car has got so much money. Either the companies themselves or the clients where they pick up the money from. They will tell you, we've put so much money into this car, as it moves, get it. And they're going to get it on the road. And that increases the risk to society. It makes our country look like we're at war zone because there's bombing everywhere on this cash in transit. So the reforms on cash in transit and the use of cash in our country, I think is very urgent, especially on transportation of money, very urgent, something that government must look at. The last one and most important one, our borders. If we don't do anything about the control on the movement of our borders, we're not going to stop these drugs. Regardless of what we do with the cartel, we will not stop the drugs. I said when I presented that it is not only the big five that we have a problem with. They happen to be closer to the government officials, senior government officials, and take control of the entire security cluster. These five. But there's big dogs out there that are sitting and smiling. They are making billions of friends on bringing these drugs into the country and packaging them and reselling them. So until we control our borders, a typical example, police officers we have in the borders, they've been there for ages. The employment condition of a police officer, it's not easy for you to say you are here on a contract for 1 year and after 1 year you must move. We go through all the labor process to try and remove a person after we've placed a person in one spot, because there's no flexibility in terms of our labor laws, employment condition in the police. It must be looked at. It doesn't matter how good I might be about KZN, but the moment I'm so used to the port of entry on Durban and I'm so immense into corruption, whether it's taxis, whether it's CITs, whether it's stock theft, whatever it is, I might need to move from that province and go to another province. Take me and say, now go to Limpopo. You become a provincial commissioner and see you can do what you're doing here as a civil servant. But we don't do that. We become so used to the environment where you're working, and then the criminality then start cropping in, because these criminals either threaten us or they're going to bribe us, either way. So that's what we see happening in the borders. And I must say, it's not only the police in the border. Almost everyone that works there. gets involved with the syndicate from all different departments, different entities on the border. They get involved with syndicates that are working there. So unless we do something about those border controls, we're not going to stop this. So that is the number one priority for me on the borders. Cash in transit, secondly, and the third one, we must start looking at the tenders. That's how we're going to stop this cartel. If we don't do that, you close the borders, they have cash in transit highs. You close that, they still run tenders because they're controlling some of the procurements that are happening, and they still enjoy life.
No, thanks, General. That was important because my own view is that it's not enough to identify the problem. We have to find a way in which we can address the conditions through which they thrive. And I think your suggestions are intended to deal with that. Let me say, General, I think we might have never said this in your first meeting with us here, some of us. But I think I agree with the assertion that that we should applaud you for your courage. And I want you to understand me very well. In this case, applauding you for your courage is not necessarily agreeing with everything you said on that press conference, but the courage to stand up for something that you believe in, articulate it, and be willing to face consequences is what I think you must be applauded for. History will judge and time will judge as we conclude our work as ad hoc committee, as the Commission of Inquiry also concludes its work as to whether there was any value bigger than what you might have observed on the decision you took on that day to stand up and say something is not right and somebody has to do something. Why it's important that that courage is important to be applauded is because, and I'm saying, I'm not dealing with the merits. I'm dealing with because that is how our country was liberated. Some people had to take a decision that no matter what happens to me, but in this case, I am taking a particular position. And of course, if you take a position like the one you took, there are consequences. Like the one they took, those who liberated our country, there were consequences. Others were imprisoned, others died. But there's no way, even today, the country is going to succeed in terms of its development and reconstruction without men and women who are willing to take difficult position. And if it means they die and become martyrs because they acted in the best interest of the country. Now, with that being said, I asked your boss when he was here yesterday. I asked him, and I think I must ask you this question. And I know you might answer this question by saying we don't operate in the same way. And he said that when he was explaining to me that it's Mkhwanazi's way of doing things. I've got my way of doing things. But I asked him this question because at the level where you are, a provincial commissioner, and at the level at where he is, a national commissioner, I think it should be expected, at least by ordinary South Africans, that once you arise to that level, you must be a person that can be dependent upon to sacrifice, including himself or herself, for national interest. And I asked this question to General Masemula. If you did not go out in July, was he not going to proceed and implement the directive that he subsequently told us, now that you went out in public, he believed was not in the purview or in the domain or in the authority of the minister? I asked him that question and I said to him, I wanted him to do something that is not easy to do, which is to divorce Fanny Masemula from the National Commissioner. Because a National Commissioner must be a National Commissioner who may not be exactly Fanny Masemula in the true sense of what Fanny Masemula is when he's not the occupants of that particular office. And I asked that question because, and I'm asking it to you now, do you think that he would have acted differently? Do you think that he would have acted differently had you not gone out in July?
Chief Whip, your time is up. May you respond, General. His time is up.
Thank you so much.
But Skosana has also agreed to give me a minute.
Yeah, you're right, honorable member, we're not the same. The National Commission is a different person than me. And the truth is, what I'm saying this with respect to my boss. If, from what I'm told, Sbia and Kabinde did not oppose to the proposal, this team will be gone today. Because it seems like there was an agreement reached on the 6th of March with some amendments, but they already agreed that, no, we're going to wind this thing down. So we are shutting down in a way. Had that follow-up meeting that was held in Pretoria concluded, they would have signed that deal without Mkhwanazi in a way. And they were going to implement it. I'm saying this with that respect that it was Nkabinde's behavior and Sibia's behavior that led into the minister to say, I'm no longer going to have this meeting anymore. I think that kind of stalled everything. When I look at after the arrest of the members of crime intelligence that were responsible for the counterintelligence investigation that was happening in Gauteng, members are kept in safe houses. They are operating with resources from intelligence. This management of intelligence is arrested, and they are told not to enter facilities of crime intelligence. I fly to Pretoria, and I challenge management the second day after they were released that the bail condition does not say they must not work. It says they must not enter the premises. They can still do this job elsewhere. The management disagreed with me. They said they must not. So they did not. Departmental investigation was conducted. They were cleared. After they were cleared, they were still barred from doing the work. There were meetings after meetings after meetings. I had to again travel to Pretoria and sit with my boss and say, let us be serious now. Do we want to kill this investigation yourself? Or you want these members to investigate? So you must decide, and the boss. It was that day when he eventually signed the letters that reinstate these members to do the work. I didn't travel back. Then the members that are doing the job started getting support. For the good almost 5 months, they were not getting support. So there was no energy coming from the management to make sure that these junior members that are doing the work, they continue with their job. I had to again go from KZN to make that done, to make that happen. We were talking here, it still pains me today, that despite of the sacrifice that these members have made over time, the commitment from the boss to say, we're going to acknowledge these members of PKTT for the work they've done, the president applauding these members. They are in the line of receiving awards. They are invited, they start buying suits and stuff like that. On the day after this letter is written, a decision is taken by management, my boss, that they are no longer getting anything because he doesn't want to upset the minister. To date, they have never received in a single paper a certificate that says, thank you for what you've done. To date, those members are sitting with sore hearts. To date. And I could see this pain in their faces. Fast forward to the GCI ops that uncovered all this corruption in Gauteng. To date, they remain in those junior ranks without any form of recognition, a certificate to say, come here, thank you, medal of bravery, we appreciate. We have not done that today as an organization. I don't have authority over that. But again, the boss sees it in his own way. If it was me in his position, I've dealt with it differently. So when I assess all this behavior that has happened in management in the organization, it tells me that the shutting down of the PKTT was going to happen had the agreement been reached on the proposal. If Khumalo had proposed in his own way, maybe they would have gone with this one. He proposed in this fashion of winding it down, and the document that was submitted, presented, they would have implemented it. The reason why I did not even make it public, because I was still not 100% sure whether my boss will back me up. That's why when he said, no, you can do this press briefing, I said, I want to do this press briefing about the PKTT, where people are going to ask me things. But part of the problem of this briefing are the doctors that are sitting in Pretoria. Did you allow them to go there or not? He says, no, no. I said a statement. So for me to update on the
Thank you so
PKTT
much. Thank you so much.
was
General.
that.
Thank you so much.
Sorry? Hey,
Thank you so much.
asiyeke lapho.
Honorable Scosan.
School weight. How's the school weight? Angi. Sizokuhlala la namhlanje siyindawo. Yalala la. Shamasi,
Shoneshwa.
the time is 23:37. I'll be finishing at what time, Chair? 15 after 12.
0020.
53. I'm not counting the other benevolent, Chair. I'm not counting the 15 minutes in case I need an extra time.
Where is 12? 12 is a 00 hour 13.
00:13. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Chamas, ngiyakuthokoza.
Shoneshwa.
Ngesikhethu ngizokubetha ngisindebele nesizulu. Ngesikhethu sithi uyikakaramba, uyikutani. Ngesizulu bathi uyinkunzi, uyisikhokho. Ngifuna ukuthi nje kuwena into yenzileko irare iphasi mazombe. Ngithi irare iphasi mazombe ngesizulu kuthiwa yenze umhlaba uthuke into enye engaziwako eSouth Africa neAfrica mazombe. Ngicabanga ukuthi namanye amazwe abomakhelwane abala iduzane bayabafuna abantu abanesibindi esifana naleso naso. Ngithi abantu emakhaya njengoba ngikhuluma nawe nje ngalesikhathi ebusuku kangaka bathokoza into oyenzileko, whether into ositshele yona ngezi-6 zangoJuly, ngoba thina njengekomiti yamapolisa ngezi-5 zangoMarch weza wazokupresenta, azange sayithathele ehloko ni. Ngamanye amagama ngifuna ukuphakamisa isandla ukuthi chebe senza mhlambe saphosisa. Baza ngixolela abanye ngoba ngitshelwe ukuthi ama-interpreter akekho akhambela ukulala. Akulalwa la, siyabereka thina la. Siyabereka la. No. Ngizoyibamba nje ngelimi lesiyeni. Ngizokuthoma ngithi in the year 2024 wathola you received the request from Gauteng Organized Crime Investigation Unit ukuthi bakusize ubasize to assist them with investigation to dismantle the organized crime syndicate operating in the country and control in Gauteng province. General Khumalo came here. He was very clear to say whether the percentage we might not agree that ampura amapolisa sanawo eGauteng in particular. He said most of the police, I don't want to use the word corruption, they are not doing their work. Ngabe uyavumelana nalokho?
Yeah, there's a serious problem that we have in Gauteng especially.
in Gauteng in particular. Now, you took the decision to deploy 10 of your members for this political killing task team to support Gauteng Organized Crime Unit, am I right?
That's correct.
Now, this investigation has unmasked the syndicate which involves politicians, law enforcement agencies like SAPS, Metro, correctional services, prosecutors, judiciary, and controlled by drug cartel as well as business people. Do you still stand by those words?
That's correct.
Now, I think we let the country down when it comes to the issue, in particular of these correctional service matters, which we are going to traverse on that at a later stage, because you submitted to us the issue of Germany Prim, am I right?
That's correct.
But I want to start with this PKTT issue because the president as well has responded. And the president agrees with you and the National Commissioner. I'm going to go to that, but I want us to finish this first. In your belief, because we had some prosecutors here, whether they were suspended, some have left, because of the issues of this, I mean, the law allows that. You've got IDEC, which is intimidating people. And I'm still going to repeat that again. There's an allegation that is an Indian cabal in IDEC. There's I think, I'm going to repeat that, Perumal, Sunesh, Belochone, or whatever the surname is. I might be wrong, I'm sorry on that. And I think there's Perumal, Sullivan, Benesh, and Padiache, if I remember well. Are those the one who arrested the team of General Kumalo?
Well, I think there's two of them, of the names that we mentioned, that were part of the arrest.
The other one, there was an allegation, you know, which with the case number, I guess, which was they submitted to us, that one of those investigation officers has a minor rape case, but is still working. And Chetty came here last week, he claimed that as well, that the mother of the victim is crying, that there's no law in this country. You might not know about that, but I'm saying that was the evidence given to us, and information, let me not say evidence, that's the information we got from here. In short, I know that the IDEC, they've got all the powers. They can arrest, prosecute, which for me, as lawmakers, we need to look at that. I don't think it's correct to have a referee and a player. What's your take on that?
Well, when the government took a decision to reestablish IDEC, we began to ask ourselves a question: why did the government shut down Scorpions? Because what government has literally done is to resuscitate or reestablish Scorpion with a different name. And it still remains a question to date.
Yeah. Now,
and a matter of fact, to add on it, honorable member, the former head of TPCI, Gerald De Beer, he questioned that if you give IDEC the prosecution powers, why don't you give TPCI the same thing? So it remains a question. You shut down one unit, you re-establish it with the same mandate, but with a different name.
Yeah. Now, let's come to the issue, because when you were here, when we started, there was the issue of Brown Mkhwanazi sending a WhatsApp message to you regarding the allegation on the defeating the end of justice, which were publicized and which involved the Department of Correctional Service at Mpangeni in KwaZulu-Natal. Mr. Brown Mkhwanazi is also sent a screenshot of a presentation that was made on the 30th of September 2024, titled 2024-2025 Division Crime Intelligence Policy to to you. Now, I just want to say to you that the second of events here, where I'm leading you to, the Mkhwanazi I'm talking about, the minister in parliament denied knowing him. However, the minister confirmed that he knows Mkhwanazi during a telephone conversation which was posted by Ed Londi Care at 3:30, where he confirmed that this was his comrade from the Northwest Province. Now, the association between Mkhwanazi, because I want us to clear this matter. In your view, the minister misled us by saying he doesn't know Mkhwanazi, and later stage he agreed that he knows Mr. Mkhwanazi.
Well, I believe that because it's on record. I don't know what you said.
So in a simple term, he lied. Now, the president has responded. In his response to our question, because we asked him to appear before the committee, but unfortunately, is not appearing to this committee. But he has responded. In his response, I'm going to take you along on that, which I think you are a bit vindicated, Shamaza, on this matter. You are vindicated. The president here we sent question to the president, and the president responded simply and, in one sentence. It's not complicated. The question was, did the president approve or support the decision to disband PKTT? And the reason provided by Minister Mkhwanazi to disband the PKTT, the president, in his response, he says, I did not approve of the decision. And kindly see my answer above, question 25-26 on page 10. And I will read that as well. Now, Minister Mkhwanazi's decision to disband the PKTT, in the respective statement, both the National Commissioner General Masemula and the minister indicated that the president was informed of the decision to disband the PKTT. We said he must confirm the date, whether the president was informed of the decision and the date. Now, simply, the president came back to us. He said to us, I'm going to read that before we transverse on the matter which you presented to us as well today. I was informed by the National Commissioner of Police that he has been instructed by the Minister of Police, then Minister Mkhwanazi, to disband the PKTT. He made it clear that he disagreed with the decision. He furthermore assured the president that notwithstanding this instruction, a disbandment could not be effected immediately, as this will negatively affect the pending investigation. On receiving this information, I asked to meet with the minister. I met the minister on about 13 February. And remember that the PKTT, the letter from the minister, it disbanded the PKTT on the 1st of on the 31st. Whilst we were enjoying, the last day, but the president only met him on the 13th. On that meeting, the minister informed the president that he has given instruction to disband the task scheme, and his reason for doing so. I convey my dissatisfaction of and not having been consulted prior to the decision being taken. I furthermore indicated that, in my view, this was a decision for the National Commissioner to make. I made it clear my desire to keep abreast of any further decision that will impact the work to be done in relation to the political killings. It was in my understanding that the steps to be taken fell within the purview of the National Commissioner's authority. I had understood from the National Commissioner that the PKTT will not be disbanded and this work will continue. The directive notwithstanding, and I expected to be brief and has been normally in a normal course in the previous years on any political killing cases, arrest or prosecution going forward. Now, hence I'm saying to you, you are vindicated on this matter. The Minister Mkhwanazi was completely wrong. The president, when he established IMC, he said not even a single minister will have taken a decision to disband that alone, because it didn't belong to one department. There was ministers, and there's no handover like, in the administration. If there's a new administration, the status quo remain. So I want to say to you, General, that there's nothing wrong which we have done on this matter. Hence, we are saying whatever you said on the 6th of July, maybe some other issues, as you said yourself, there's no one who's perfect. You might, the information which you had might not be correct, but hence we are here again to correct what you think perhaps when you came here for the first time, you were a bit misled by people who gave you information. But what I'm getting here as well, in terms of this PKTT, which has made us to be here, you were spot on. Now, let's come to the issue now, General. You brought in a statement here about which you said, Honorable Member Nhlanhla, who's here, fortunately, the father, I think when you explained that, how did you get this message? This message from one prisoner called Jemani Prim.
It's a cousin of mine that brought it to me.
Or your cousin brought it to you?
Yeah, I believe because he was with someone. I'm not sure whether that's a gentleman that picked it up from the prison. I cannot remember. But it's my cousin that was communicating with.
Are you comfortable to traverse on this matter?
Very much so.
Thank you. This morning you said you read the statement and then further confirmed that you verified the information in the written statement which you confirm are true and correct. Am I right?
I said I read the statement, and majority of the things that came out of this statement, they collaborate to the things that was already been presented before this committee and the Nhlanhla Commission.
And in the Nhlanhla Commission. If so, does mean that when he says in paragraph 7 that Honorable Gayton McKenzie made sure that he is put in CMEX because he has a voice recording which links Honorable Gayton with drug dealers and drug money. That's paragraph 7.
Yes, Honorable Member, my reading and understanding on this, if I may, almost all the paragraphs is narrating the stories of what he was told by Ket Nhlanhla. But on paragraph 7 only, he's then expressing his own frustration. So the people he talks about on this paragraph is him telling Ket Nhlanhla. That's when then the minister's name and other names are coming in. But the rest of the statement is what Nhlanhla told him. What is relevant to me in the main was the statement that the minister brought here that came from prison, how it was obtained. That was the main thing. Of course, majority of the things that are written here, they are worrying. They need to be looked at. And some of things that he mentions here are things that has happened, like the meeting at Nhlanhla between me and him. He is the one who was telling this guy. This guy would not have known about that meeting. Surely, I had no reason not to trust most of the things that he said.
Let me make a disclaimer, Chair, as well. That I've received a call from 011942 and whatever name. The guy called himself the same prim. He says it's a public phone. I ignored the call 3 times because we have to protect the integrity of this parliament. If there's allegation as strong as what you submitted here, because that statement, they've sent that statement to the Honorable Taibosh and Honorable Nhlanhla, and I deposited that affidavit here in this core committee. Unfortunately, because of time, this is our last day. But I'm going to ask you, in your view of what you have read, whether it's true or not true, it will be tested because we are here to probe the truth. In the light of this revelation by Jemani in the letter to Nhlanhla, that an ad hoc committee should have called Jemani to testify before this committee, and that the people mentioned have perhaps been given a chance to answer for themselves. What's your view on that? Especially when it involves an executive in the cabinet, because the name Honorable Minister Gayton McKenzie is a minister. What's your view on that?
Well, when this whole commission was announced, both Nhlanhla and I believe the ad hoc committee, Minister Gayton McKenzie was one of the vocal ones who said he's going to testify about the things he knows, which seems to suggest, and there's a record out of his own mouth, which made me believe that he knows things that perhaps might also assist that are related to what we are raising, which is drug related. So when his name comes like this and he has not testified, it might perhaps leave a question mark as to what does he know that could assist with what we are talking about. So when this man mentioned his name here, perhaps it might be a different investigation altogether that might need to be investigated.
Maybe perhaps it's us who have made that mistake. I'm not sure whether it's us or the people who were receiving these submissions. Maybe never submitted anything, but perhaps, as you said, he mentioned himself that he wanted to come. Yeah, but I think Nhlanhla Commission is got an extension. Maybe it's the right place to do because this is our last day in general. Because, yeah, in paragraph 8 as well, I'm going to ask about it. There's a name mentioned, Katie Mulife, that supplies Kenny Gunene and Gayton McKenzie with Stapil, I don't know what's that, matrix drugs from South America into the Western Cape. So all these things you said, he had it from Kate Nhlanhla. That's what he alleged, Mr. Jermaine. Are they in prison both at CIMEX?
They are both in correctional services, but in different facilities.
Now, so who said that if Jemeni exposed this, it will end in tears? And if he has family outside, what does this mean in your view?
Where is that honorable member you're talking about? Is it quoted on this statement?
Yes.
Where exactly?
Because there's no paper. Yeah, where he says, if Germany, I mean, this Germany exposed, this will end in tears. If he has a family outside, what does this mean?
I'm trying to get a reference on the statement itself.
Oh, a paragraph. Okay. I'll do this. Why is my colleague is checking the paragraph? Yeah. No, we will get there. Yeah. It says that. So he also said that if Germany exposes this, it will end in tears. And if he has a family outside, that was a question mark. So the question is, what does this mean? Was it a threat that if he exposes this matter between themselves, fighting among themselves, I guess?
Although now I'm not able to reference. I think I read something like that where someone was advising someone between the two of them not to expose things. I cannot remember who was advising who, but I think I read it somewhere. We must just be assisted with a specific paragraph.
Now, General, do you know of the late Farouk? And if so, are you aware that it's alleged that Honorable Gayton Mackenzie called Germany looking for Farouk where's about, at which point he confirmed that he was at the same location where he was found, shot and killed, the same way DJ somebody was killed. It's on this statement.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't remember if I don't know where is it. I cannot
Yeah, they are
remember
helping us now.
Can you repeat maybe that comment again?
That Farouk, there's a guy called Farouk who was killed. And he was killed almost the same way as DJ somebody.
Okay.
Sorry.
Germany, perhaps he believes in that, but hence I'm saying they are busy because, you know, it's written, it's not typed. But my colleagues are helping me.
Can also the evidence leaders assist us on this person? I also see the members are also lost. They have been looking.
No, they are lost as well. And hence I'm saying my team is helping me here. Quick. At the meantime, I'll move to another.
To the handwritten statement.
Yes, the handwritten statement.
Okay.
We'll come back to it. It's fine. Because it's long. My team here, they were helping me on that. It's on. It's written, you know. Okay, it's here. I can't see now. It's in the middle there. Down here. It's in fact it's 8, almost the last paragraph.
Okay, I think I read a statement at the end of paragraph 8.
Yes.
About the threat, the relationship between the minister and Katie Malif. I'm not sure if that's the one all members talking about.
Can I continue, General?
Yes, sir.
Yes, are you fine with that? Did you get it there?
No, I'm trying to, because I'm trying to scan through the statement. I'm not sure exactly where we are at.
Yeah, it's just before paragraph 9. Okay, let me reread it again.
Yeah, I see that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that did he hear from as well from Ket Nhlanhla, or was it his own statement? Because you say other statements are from him, other statement he had it from Nhlanhla.
Yeah. Well, there's a line from the reading of this. There's a specific line that I feel it's him that is telling Nhlanhla something.
Okay.
But the rest of the things is what then the conversations between him and Nhlanhla are having. He would have introduced things about the Minister Kirsten Mackenzie, and then the two of them start discussing Minister Kirsten Mackenzie. And one of them, Kat tells him that this man is close to Mlife, and the importing of the drugs from Brazil and so forth, the name of pills that they are using and so forth. And the warning is that if he were to expose this thing is going to compromise the business that himself, Cat, is part of. I think that's why he was warning him that he must not do that.
Must do, okay. And on paragraph 14, the last sentences where it say, I know that when I reveal everything, they will try to have me killed or move me to Kokstad. Very few people can be trusted. There are people like Gaten and Ellen James who will do anything to prevent me from talking and going in depth about everything because they are involved in many things. However, I find it difficult to be silent due to the people trying to force me into silence whilst they cause such great havoc and destruction. They have ruined lives. I will, through other means, give all the details involving the criminal cases and how South Africa is truly captured. I will also explain how Brown was used as a middleman. Voos explained that most of the ministers use middlemen for payment so that there's no direct link to others. That was paragraph 14. Now, my question, General, the authenticity of this, the veracity of this statement, in your view, can we probe it further? Or call, because this is our end. I'm not sure whether because the portfolio committee chairperson is with us here, or the justice portfolio committee as well, or the correctional service, because this matter is really a very serious case. We cannot ignore it.
Yeah, no, that's why I said initially this is a person who was recording what Nhlanhla was telling him. And when the issues of the minister came to the picture, and the two of them started engaging about the minister. So that's why the rest of these other discussions is related to the issues that involve the minister and possible what Nhlanhla knows about the minister as well. So it is him that tells the story, and I'd like to believe that perhaps he will have evidence. There's somewhere where he said he has got a recording, which I don't have. So I'm sure such things can be made available when this information is probed further.
Yeah, because he reveals that the plan was to either have you fired so that he doesn't have a task force protection any longer, and he can be easily have him killed. Now, did you ever been threatened in your life, General?
I can put on record before all those that are watching that I'm not moving around with task force for protection. I move alone. When I'm at work, yes, I move with the team. But when I'm not at work, I move alone. Yes, they're on speed dial, of course, but I don't necessarily need to have protectors to move around. I still live my life the way I live it.
A brave man, I must say. You know, my colleague next to me here was kidnapped, Honorable Chongwe. And we are getting threats, serious threats, General.
Was kidnapped.
Was kidnapped, yes. Honorable Chongwe.
I'm not aware of that.
Yes.
I hope not in KZN.
No, it was in Gauteng after we visited prison.
Wow.
And I mean, that was before. Yes, before Khosima Mamburu. Now, it's a scary stuff, General, I must say. And to all the members who are here, it's not an easy thing. Hence, I'm saying when you say you are moving alone, when you are not at work, it's a scary stuff, I must say. But General, njoba ngikhe ngatsho ngicabanga ukuthi ngizoyivala ke ngesikhethu nangesizulu. This matter, which we have transversed now, I think the core committee will make a decision about this submission you submitted before us as well, about the matter of Germany Prim. And because, you know, when members, honorable members are being mentioned, we are very sensitive that if a prisoner is mentioning some of us here in this core committee, we can't just ignore that. And I think some members will feel the same. Now, imibuzo eminingi uyitholile ngendaba and wayichaza angifuni ukubuyela emva ngendaba ye relationship yakho no General Khumalo, because there were a lot of allegations that mhlambe abanye kulama, I'm not sure whether I must say factions, babona ngathi ubereka kakhulu no General Khumalo. Ungathini ngalokho?
Yeah, well, I did work with him. I've worked with many police officers, so General Khumalo is one of the people I worked with. But that does not necessarily mean that we form a faction. There are many generals in the police that I can name that I work very close with. But I suspect that when people find it that in this case, those that started dealing with Khumalo, and they thought they can get away with it, when people like us started standing up,
Yes.
they didn't like it. That's why they're going to start associating.
Because Paul Sullivan, ukhuluma into enye ethusako la, I'm not sure ukuthi uyayenza KZN na. Uthi uvula ama-docket, then afike e-police station, ipolice aligcwalise lisayine, and then umuntu uyakhanja iyakhamba iya ku-NPA, umuntu uyakhanja yokubotshwa. Ngokwazi kwakho kusemthethweni ngiloko ngoba uPaul Sullivan akasilipolisa.
Well, in the province where I'm in charge, you will not dare do such. It's not supposed to be done like that. There's no case dockets that goes to court without it going via the police station. He can come with information to a police station.
Yes.
And present it before the police officer for the case to be registered. Once a case docket is open, it belongs to the police station. The docket gets registered at the police station. He's got no powers to do anything on the docket. His is to just bring information and demand the case to be open. That's all.
Mara wamuzwa musila ku commission ashindo leyo angimsukela ngithi.
Well, I did not watch all the things that he was talking in this committee because there's a lot of things that he was saying. But if he did say something like that, that would be against the law.
Ya ngoba into mhlambe ayikhulume ekhulu issue le ekuthiwa kuyabangwa mhlambe ukubuza wena indaba ye slush fund, because I think uke wasitshela ukuthi awukho responsible khulu for crime intelligence. Mana ngokuzwa kwakho ngoba ukhona esipoliseni, ngabe liqiniso ukuthi into ebangwa khulu eyenza ukuthi kube nokuhlangahlangana esipoliseni into ye crime intelligence slush fund?
I remember, I'm going to plead again and I'm going to plead all of you. Please stop using the word slush fund.
Yes.
Because it is not a slush fund.
Secret account.
It's a secret service account.
Yes.
The Paul Sullivan to talk about that, it tells you that he's got access to what's happening in that account. That's why I can tell you about the budget and everything else. And you ask yourself, a foreigner as he is, how does he get to know about what's happening in that account of South Africa? Yes, he's a citizen in South Africa, but he's also a foreigner at the same time. It's a concern. The use of the funds, abuse or otherwise, does happen. I cannot say that it's not happening. But to what extent does it happen? I cannot sit here and say, I know that this money is used, so much money has been used, so much money has been used. But the authority over crime intelligence, both the secret fund account and the resources of crime intelligence, such as these grabber machines we're talking about, surveillance equipment, amongst others, all their tools that they use and their methodologies that they use to gather information and do infiltration, do counterintelligence, surveillance and stuff like that. It is the control of those that people are interested in.
Thank you.
Some of them might not be interested in money, but some might be interested in money.
My last question, but one, General. We had Sergeant Mlojwa Sergeant Mlotshwa, when he came here, he alleged that you participated in his torture. And the issue of Neji and the kidnapping of a person who was not found, I'm sorry, when the police went to their house in Komati Port or Matsulu. What is your knowledge on that?
Well, I denied my involvement in the torture. That's a first. But secondly, I believe that he had opened a case that needs to be investigated. I hope it does get investigated so that we can be able to get the truth. But the man, the fact that the team was told that he ran away with a kidnapped person to Mozambique, which was later confirmed by Border Management Agency that he crossed to Mozambique illegally. So it confirms that he might have participated in the crime of kidnapping.
Now, the issue of their house, because there's a contradiction statement, he alleged that their house was burned when the police arrived there. If I remember well, in your knowledge, was the house burned before they went to his house? He said their house is straight to, I think, a Pakistani shop. There's cameras. If I may ask, do we have a footage on that?
Yes, we do. The investigation team gave me the footage. The one that he said was destroyed. I've shared it with evidence leaders. You can play it here if you so wish.
And the case, he opened two cases, if I remember. Is it the same person?
I wanted to correct that. I think Orum member did ask earlier about the case number of Cape Town. I was under the impression that the case, he came to open a case in Cape Town because he had a press briefing with Orum Adams, I think about a week before he appeared here. But the station did confirm, the provincial commissioner said they didn't register a case at the time. They just spoke about it, but they didn't go to the police station to open a case. So I like to believe that it remains the case in Johannesburg.
So are you saying he was accompanied, or his travel was paid by Honorable Adams?
No. He had a press briefing with him. Honorable Adams introduced him to the media.
Here in Cape Town?
Yeah, where the newsroom camera was there waiting for them. And they ran that interview where he presented his accusation. Here in Cape Town, a week before he sat here to testify.
And is he still a policeman? In your view?
On our records, he has booked off sick, but he was here.
For how long was he sick?
More than a year now.
Yeah, so we have a serious problem in the police service.
We have a serious problem in the country.
My last one, Chair. Ukuthi-ke siye phambili-ke general ngento engikhe ngakhuluma ngazo nge-correctional service ne-judiciary. Ucabanga ukuthi mhlambe ngoba sikhulu la sibereke khulu ngamapopolisa ngani. I-judiciary ambulance akayitouch. Kunamajaji as we speak, some of them are on bail. Base-bailini as I'm talking to you. I-correctional service, the issues zakhona asikakazithindi nokuzithinda la. Ungas-advise uthini mhlambe portfolio committee yamapolisa ne-justice ne-correctional services. Don't you think perhaps we need to have another ad hoc committee before the end of the year? Hence I'm saying, General, I know there's something coming here. We will have only members of those portfolio committees. We won't have abantu abecelako ngoba baningi abeceleko ngapha masiza la. I'm just asking you to say judicial asakayithindi, and my members can agree on that. Honorable members can agree on that. We've done nothing in terms of there's no judge who came in here. There's no magistrate who came in here. There's no warder who came in here. Zero. And we need to go to the bottom of this issue of the infiltration which we've spoken about on the 6th of July.
You give the members from TCS immunity from protection from coming to tell the things that happen within. I'm sure they will bring it through the portfolio committee. Perhaps they will come and talk about what's happening in that space. But for the judiciary and some of the things that I've always been pondering about, that the judges have so much powers that either making or breaking justice. The judges. So then I ask myself a question as to how to make sure that the exercise of these powers are under close supervision. And I look at what I see in other countries, the US, one of them. I don't know the system exactly how it works, but I always see that you see it on TV, the juries and the likes, how they function, I don't know. But there ought to be some controls that the judge cannot independently decide on a matter. When you have a full bench, a group of 3 judges, the outcome at least is somehow satisfactory. But when a presiding officer does decision alone, that's where we have a problem. Because any unhappiness with that, you have to now appeal. The appeal that he might not approve, the very same person, so appeal to the same person. That's our system. And he says, no, I'm not granting you this. And now we must go through another process. And it takes time, all these things. So I think if we have to look at those, same with sentences. One person as a presiding officer can decide, we've seen it. Oscar Pistorius, one case. It doesn't matter how much of a crime you've committed. If the judge feels, yeah, no, I feel for you, I'll give you 5 years. We've had cases where murder weapons were discovered, people arrested. People are given suspended sentence of 5 years, being found in the possession of a handgun, unlicensed. How do you justify such? And he walks.
General, I'm sorry you said earlier that there's somebody who was, I think he murdered about 5 people, am I right? And he's been given bail by different judges, am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. Katiso Molefe.
Or is that Katiso Molefe?
A person found guilty in overseas, foreign country, for having been there illegally so, is arrested here for murder, is granted bail. Oh, the magistrate refuses based on this risk, but the judge gives him bail. Judge president for that matter. And he get arrested again for another 4 murders. Another judge gives him bail again. So it is those that we have that makes us to ask questions. Where are we going with this? Is it about the size of your pocket that can get you free, like Mkhwanazi is? He's on 500,000 rand bail, a salary that is more than a government employee. You paid it on bail, is out. What
So General, in your last word, do you agree when I say perhaps we need to dig deeper? We've only scratched the surface here.
As I said again, we have a problem in the country. Honorable members, at Correctional Service, and I'll keep saying this, the money that you are authorizing to be allocated to correctional services can go a long way to lift up the livelihood of our citizens. Those people in prison must go and work in the garden to eat. They must work out there to make furniture to sleep on. They must work to stay alive inside, not to get freebies like they do. Because we're encouraging the culture of people committing crime, knowing that behind bars, life is better than to be in a shack. Life is better than to sleep on the street. It's a bad culture that we are creating.
Siyakuthokoza ngifuna ukwehlisa isigqoko sithi uyikakaramba, isikhokho, uyikutane. Angazi ukuthi ama-adjectives ayangiphelela na wesixhosa anginawo. I-standing ovation siyakunikela thina namhlanje.
Ngiyabonga.
Thank you.
Chair, does he agree that who is Koko? Do you agree, General? Who is Koko? Do you agree?
Kiswata.
What is Kutane, Chair?
Tauya Maria. You are the buffer between us and adjournment.
I thought it was Honorable Skosana's monologue, Chair.
Honorable Cameron, your time starts now.
Good Chair. Thank you, General. I'm not gonna ask unnecessary questions. General, I want to go straight to the incident regarding the escort of Mr. Adams during his visit to the Westville Correctional Facility. I want to understand from you, first of all, just briefly, what are the prescribed protocols for providing escorts or support to members of Parliament, particularly in relation to visits to correctional facilities?
The movement of the members of Parliament can be assisted in providing escort if they're on duty. They're exercising their parliamentarians' oversight and they feel that they're not safe in going to a certain place. So that is provided, but obviously they must ask from the police management or, well, the local police to assist them with that. But if the members of Parliament are doing that on their private capacity, then it's a no.
So I want to understand, let's maybe ask that first. So did Mr. Adams travel in his private capacity?
Well, from the investigation, it appears that he was on his private capacity. However, he will have indicated that he's on an official capacity when he signed into the registers of correctional services. He did not say he was there in private capacity.
So is there any indication from what you know who mandated him from Parliament? It was certainly not the Police Portfolio Committee. So is there any indication?
We don't know exactly, Honorable Member. What the team picked up as one of the gray areas that allow such things to happen are these flights privileges that are afforded to the members of Parliament, which sometimes they use it for official business and sometimes they use it for private business, but being paid for by Parliament. So we suspect he might have used one of those flights, maybe, or someone else paid for his flight. I do not know, or he paid for himself. But he traveled to KZN. But what we know is that in his arrival, he made use of the state resources that he's not entitled to. And when he arrived at correctional services, he presented himself as a member of Parliament on duty, so that he can get a privilege of an MP when he arrives there. And yet he was busy with his own private thing.
This is very interesting. I would love to, as the investigation goes on, understand who mandated him. Again, I can confirm it's not the Police Portfolio Committee. General, would the access or the way that he received escorts or was provided, would it require formal written authorization or coordination with correctional services, the way that he was, not correctional services, apologies, with the police, the way that he was escorted?
Yeah, no, definitely it needs authorization, a request that must be formally submitted and be authorized. The SAPS members were used. The Metro Police officers were used in this operation or that visit that he made. And earlier, Honorable Member read out a statement or a case that has been registered by one of the police officers that was involved. The one that I said is a cousin, if I'm not mistaken, of Mr. Robert Mabrati. The movement from the word go of Cape Town until he lands into correctional services, surely it was organized. He had communicated with someone to facilitate those movements. Obviously, did not declare that, we like to believe. Now that we know, the head of Metro Police did not know about that. Hence, when I asked about it, he checked out with the team and the team confirmed they were requested. The member that requested were junior members that got involved in facilitating that movement. None of the seniors were involved. He's an honorable member from the Portfolio Committee on Police. So he did not bother calling me. And I'd like to know, I believe he did not call me because part of the trip was against me in his own eyes. And he did not think of talking to any senior member, at least in KZN. There are many senior members, even if he doesn't talk to me. I don't think he engaged with any senior member. But he engaged with one that coincidentally is a relative of Robert McBride. So it brings the question about the role that Robert McBride has in the behavior of Mr. Adams. Yes, we know they're close to each other. We see them on photos.
Maybe it's a rhetorical question, or one we may not need an answer, but do you really think it is coincidental? Would we not have any indication that Mr. McBride played a role in assisting to coordinate or help arrange such an escort?
Oh, well, there's a big possibility for that. The member who coordinated this and the case that he subsequently now has gone to open, that case is currently circulating at Patricia Marshall's group, the WhatsApp group. They are talking about that matter. So when you start having the Marshall's talking about these things that are happening, then it tells you that it's part of the syndicate that is operating.
I was about to call it the Patricia de Haas group. General, if we move to General Khan, I'm trying to prioritize it because I'm scared the chair, well, I see the chair's left already. Just in terms of General Khan, Minister Mkhwanazi told me just after he had become the minister, he said to me that General Khan was one of the first people to congratulate him on his appointment as the Minister of Police, even before it was announced. So he allegedly had a meeting with the president, and when he walked out, General Khan was waiting outside and he congratulated him already. We don't need to confirm whether that is the case or not. That is what Minister Mkhwanazi told me. What I would like to know is would this indicate that I mean, how far does General Khan's reach go? Because for him for an allegation to be made that he would know something like this, it obviously is very concerning.
That is what Minister Mkhulu told you.
Yeah.
What General Khumalo told me is that General Khan and the suspended Inspector General of Intelligence had gone to see the acting Minister of Police before he was even appointed as a minister, and gave him documents that talks about crime intelligence and so forth against Khumalo and the team. So this is an indication of the influence and the access that General Khan has in politicians. So he bragged about it when he told me. To what extent, I did not know. But as you receive information and you get to realize that this man, he is indeed connected to many politicians. I said the lead of EFF, for the first time for me to sit with him is because it's Khan that took me to go and meet with him. Well, obviously, he had his concerns about the rallies and everything they were going to have there, which he would have met me in any way via Khan. But for whatever reason, Khan arranged that meeting so that we could meet and talk about the concern that they were having as a party. But that was an indication, according to what I observed, that the man is very close to politicians. So as we see these and we hear what is happening, it's obvious that he is connected. I mean, we see him attending political parties, and the claim is on duty, undercover.
I know at some stage you mentioned the leader of the EFF, but I know at one stage there were allegations that General Khan approved some sort of security privilege to the leader of the EFF. Do you know if there's any truth to that? I just have it as an allegation at that stage. It was quite some time ago.
No, I don't know that. I was not informed about such, so I don't know.
General, for just purpose of the record, the Honorable James touched on it earlier. Do you believe General Sabia acted as a conduit for protecting General Khan within the organization?
Yeah, well, I don't have much of the evidence about the protection against Khan per se. I did get information from General Khumalo that at one stage Sabia wanted Khan to be charged about cases. But the one that Khan was facing, I don't think Sabia had blocked it in any way, because it came from IP to the National Commission. I'd like to believe it will have passed SBIA until it landed in Kumalo. So that case was held. So I don't know about any other cases beyond that. If there's anything that's SBIA the role to play, but I don't know.
Is there any indication, and this leads to the question about that specific political leader as well, but is there any indication that General Khan has a relationship with Adriano Mazzotti?
Yeah, well, except being with him at that political party rally, which was physical that one could see. But other than that, I don't have any evidence to prove. Yes, there was a gentleman that is within Mazzotti, I don't know, he was his manager or something like that, who once called me complaining about the issues involving Khan and the ex-wife. The wife was the relationship issues, which I find strange. Why the man phones me about that? What must I do about it? So I discovered, and I approached Khan, I said, what's going on with this man? And he said, oh, well, it's an issue about that man's ex-wife, that he was having issues with Khan, and is in that business of Mazzotti, that guy, I'm told. But to what extent is involved there, I don't know. But I know he's got a relationship with them.
So we touched on it earlier, the relationship between General Sabia and Mr. Ismail. What is that relation? Is there a relationship between General Khan and Mr. Ismail?
Well, from the investigation that has been conducted, I've not been presented with anything specific that shows that relationship. However, Mr. Ismail is involved in investigation of kidnapping cases. General Khan is leading a team in the police that is involved in criminal cases within crime intelligence. So I like to believe they've been exchanging notes in between throughout the time when they were dealing with cases. So from that, I would like to believe perhaps they know each other, but I don't have any evidence to prove that they know each other.
We've touched on the payments. I know Honorable James touched on it earlier, and the allegations around Mr. Nangi and Mr. Ismail. But with regards to General Khan, the kidnapping issue, Mr. Ismail and General Sabia, does General Khan have access to a grabber?
Yeah, well, that's some of the things that that keeps them at crime intelligence, and that's mainly of the things that keeps him within the investigation part of the police. And I think his post is maybe within that space. But I know now Jaro Kumalo arrived and he has moved that away from him. I think Jar Matondo is supervising that. Could be part of the reason why Matondo is in the firing line.
Okay.
Because it's a very strategic tool that they, I think at the time, Khan had access to.
Well, this is the reason why I'm asking, because isn't it true that General Khan also has some kind of influence on cross-border operations or intelligence, or had at some stage played some kind of a role in that?
Well, there's still an operation Khan that got involved with that happened across the border, which was not authorized.
You see, so my reason for asking that is that now we've got an alleged rogue border cop, the one that was here that had the so-called press briefing outside with Mr. Adams. We've got General Khan that did an unauthorized operation cross-border as well. We've got a funeral parlor that seems to not necessarily just be transporting the deceased. And then we've got cigarette smugglers in the mix as well, whether it's links to political parties or some. So it's just for the record, I think in the absence of the chair, maybe to the evidence leader and the team, something for the record, for the report, it is something that could and should potentially be followed up. My last question on General Khan, wouldn't you say, when it comes to what I've just said about border control, you've mentioned it earlier as well, doesn't this pose a significant threat to already weak border control?
Yeah, no, definitely. The people that knows about weaknesses in the system usually are police officers. That's why those have access to the strategic areas that are risk to the country, they need to be monitored very strong. So there must always be this counterintelligence against them to monitor their behavior because they can easily be corrupted.
Okay. General, I want to move to just, I think, more general comments. After today, we've seen positive comments regarding Parliament role. We've seen some scrutiny as well regarding Parliament role. And I think part of the reporting of this committee would include that. What I want to share and then ask for your advice is a few things. Today I spent some time listing things that we've really tried to address. Individuals like General Fani, you know, when he appeared last year, there's no doubt that there is, whether criminal or poor discipline, there are significant discrepancies in the whole story surrounding General Fani. He's still in his position. All the noise around General Khan, same thing. Yesterday I mentioned to the National Commissioner, General Patrick Mboto. I mean, both the National Commissioner knew before Mboto was moved to the Hawks. General Labia really defended him. The Philippi Training Academy, something the Portfolio Committee has touched on. Taxi operators in the police. Use an example with a lack of action from the Minister of Police, both the acting minister as well as the former Minister Mkhwanazi, is the CIRA CEO and CFO. And mind you, just for the record, I think Honorable James touched on it, but just to tell you for the record of the committee that we checked today, Mr. Ismail himself is not registered with CIRA and there's no business registered with CIRA. So he's operating illegally with the police, or was. We touched on the UIF corruption within CIRA, where the CEO and CFO of CIRA are aware. You know, we keep pushing for these things. We keep calling people to Parliament. The last round with the Auditor General, we actually asked everyone to leave because the National Commissioner and the Minister weren't there. What's next? How do we get them to actually take action? There's no individual part of this committee that wouldn't agree with me that we want to see a lot of them fired and we want to see a lot of them behind bars. Maybe you can advise us, because I think my closing comment before you answer that, you know, in the last 2 weeks, we made quite a few people in this group in the Portfolio Committee and the Joint Standing Committee on Defence made really positive input on how the deployment of the SANDF could really have a positive impact if approached in the right way. A lot of red flags were raised and proposals on joint training. And respectfully, General, both the police, the SANDF, and unfortunately the presidency ignored it. So at that point, I must ask, what's the use of constantly recommending it? What would you propose?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because the executive operates separately from Parliament. So how do you hold the executive accountable within the legislation? You might need to find that in as far as maybe the presidency is concerned. But the officials that are employed, and I'm talking about the head of departments, like in this case, the National Commission, not the executive. You then might find a ways to make sure that which is regarded as a performance agreement, that contract that the National Commission or the head of the department has with the president, you have insight of the contract, and perhaps you might also have input into such a contract, so that you are able to do the monitoring. Because I don't think the presidency as a boss of these heads of department is able to monitor like you do on the work that they do in giving input of the assessment of the performance of the head of the department. So that's a question mark. And I think if we can improve on that and try and place yourself in that space might assist, because that will then eventually lead into the time where, a period where you could then make these recommendations in your assessment that is going to influence the performance assessment to the president who employs this person to say, this person might not be fit for a job anymore. And you make recommendation. Once we all as head of departments know the power of the portfolio committee that might terminate our contract, we will start respecting them. When you call us, we're going to come. When you ask us questions, we're going to be transparent in accounting. But if you are just calling us as you're doing now, and you scream and you scream and you scream and we go back, but we have no impact on our employment contract, it doesn't necessarily help much. So find a way as committees of parliament to hold the heads of these departments accountable for the work they do. Because when you do oversight, it is them that must execute. But on parallel to that, as committees, what is your role and authority that you have over the appointed cabinet member to that department? If we don't have, that's why I was saying that how do you, as cabinet, parliament, hold a cabinet member responsible, because they are part of the executive authority and they are a different arm of government with you. I don't know how you navigate that to hold them accountable, because you are almost seen as equals. We've seen ministers here who ignores the portfolio committee. We've seen it. We are citizens. We watch it. And that makes us realize that means the committees really don't have powers over them. But what about the head of departments? It might be the similar thing. The head of department that says, you can't do anything to me anyway. So they just ignore you. But there are citizens out there that brings you in parliament that they want service, and the service is not rendered. So you might want to reconfigure yourself how you then play this role. For us, I'll pray that I shouldn't be invited before yourself, your committee, and then be held to account on things because I might be found wanting. So if I'm found wanting and I'm not able to fix things, I might lose my job. So there must always be that fear amongst us so that we are kept on our toes to do what we're supposed to do. But until that is done, things will always continue the way they are.
Thank you, General. I think one comment that we made that the committee said previously, specifically regarding the private security regulator, was that we would actually not welcome the CEO and the CFO of CIRO again until we see some kind of action. You know, that we need to force a deadlock because there's just no action from the minister's office. General, I want to close. I've got one or two short questions. The first one is, the president has now indicated that he was not briefed, as Minister Mkhwanazi indicated before or consulted before the closing of or disbanding of the PKTT or the instruction thereof. Do you think he should be removed immediately as the minister? When do we get to a point where we actually resolve it now? Because it's been months on end where we're paying two ministers to do the same job.
Yeah, well, I'm an official. For me to start talking about decisions that the president must take might not be fair. However, having seen what we have seen and having read and listened to what has been presented before these two structures, it's clear that Minister Mkhwanazi is no longer fit to run this department of police. Okay. I don't know about other departments.
Fair enough. Fair enough. General, I'm going to close there, even though the chair is not here. I don't want to labor unnecessary questions. So Honorable Nhlanhla might need to. Thank you, General. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Honorable Cameron. I think before the round, the chair has promised of you members for the last testimony. Let's take the SC. Yo, political parties are great. Let's take the SC to do a final the SC says he has got a few questions, so we can proceed this.
General,
Yes, sir.
the allegations you will agree made by Nagi, Mlochwa, and also the one referenced by Honorable Wessels, this chap Thomas. Those allegations, they are serious. They involve assault, kidnapping. But your response, that's why I'm asking you this question, is a response in respect of all three of them. They come from IPID, the charges. And you must correct me if I'm wrong, but my sense is that there's some kind of a conspiracy within IPID against you in particular. And perhaps taking it a bit further, that it may be inspired by McBride. So can one, as someone, I think, put a question to the National Commissioner yesterday, that is it true that SAPS is still ruled from the grave by Minister Taylor? Is it a case that the same applies to IPID and McBride, that despite him being out of the system, I think since 2020, that he still looms large within IPID?
SC, I cannot remember the name of the other people that you mentioned. I remember the case Nangi. I don't know who said the other one.
Mlochwa,
Mlochwa.
you spoke about it a lot today.
Yeah, it is
And
Mlochwa.
you responded.
That was the first one?
And today, Thomas, the one that was mentioned by Honorable
Or
Wessel.
the one of kidnapping.
Yes.
Okay, who's the third one?
No, those three, Thomas, Nagi, and Mlochwa.
Oh, okay. If you are making reference to those, I cannot blame IPID. These are private individuals that approach the police station to open cases against what they perceive to have been the abuse of power by the police. So when those cases are opened, the IPID must be informed by the very same police, because that's what the law says. So if IPID takes over those dockets, they did not initiate those things. They are referred to them by the SAPS. So you can't blame IPID for being in position of such. We cannot blame them for that. Where IPID gets to be blamed is when they initiate cases themselves, or the complaint that came to them, they are hiding. One of them is the Mpangeni matter, that they wrote me a letter and said it's a minister. The following week, they wrote me another letter that said it's not a minister. That begins to be question marks on IPID. To date, they've not finalized that investigation, by the way, of Mpangeni. They've told the acting minister that they've finalized it, but to date, they've not, from what I know. So it then brings question marks about IPID in that regard. The cases that I'm told that my name I included on cases that IPID opened that resulted into the blockage of my security clearance. It would have been IPID that initiated that. Those cases would have been done by McBride back in the days that to date still have not been approached by a single person. As far as I know, there's no case against me. But when I hear that the secret clearance is not released because of these cases that IPID says, it then makes me believe that IPID indeed are still. Whether McBride is still ruling from the grave, I cannot give an evidence of the ruling, but I know that the people that he might have placed at IPID are still there, some of them. The people that Sisoko placed at IPID are still there. So to what extent do they have an influence over how they work?
I think Sissoko's now at IDEC.
To the extent that a case docket that is open at the police station for IDEC purpose is taken from, for IPID purpose is taken from IPID and moved to IDEC, it then brings question marks as to why IPID is keeping quiet, allowing such to happen. So it's that connection that becomes a worry.
Yeah, no, thank you for it's late. The reason why I ask is we also need to look into how, for this honorable committee, which terms of reference, amongst other things, is to see what can they do, what remedial action can be proposed to restore trust and confidence in our law enforcement agencies, SAPS, IPID, IDEC. So what confidence can we have as members of the public in IPID and IDEC when it comes to alleged misconduct against SAPS members, when SAPS clearly on the evidence, your evidence very much today, even the general's evidence yesterday, that there's divisions, there's factions, there's differences, there are vacancies in important positions. What kind of confidence can it inspire in the public when they hear this?
The only sad part is that we're in institutions that a small mistake done or irregularities that done, it paints the entire institution bad. And it takes a while for that to be corrected. But the men and women out there, both from the ACPS, IPID and IDEC, that are working very hard, dedicated, given an opportunity, getting the support that they need, they will make you proud for the efforts that they are putting in. So I want to encourage South Africans not to judge everyone at once. Yes, we have done them wrong amongst us, some of us, but there are many of us that are trying to do what is right. So for those that are trying to do what is right from all different levels in all these institutions I'm talking about, must be given an opportunity to do that. So when you see the figures of crime stats being released and the picture that we see in the country, when you get briefing from time to time about the state of policing, the people being arrested, the court processes, the number of people who've been taken into correctional services, it should give you courage that the wheels of justice are indeed moving. There are men and women that are doing that which is supposed to be done, because if they were not, the likelihood is that the prison would be empty. And to the extent that the prison are full, it's an indication that something is happening. We have good judges, presiding officers that are convicting people. We have good prosecutors that are making sure that we have successful prosecution. We have good police officers that are finalizing their investigations ethically and they present good cases in court. Both IPID, IDEC, and the ACPS. But the bad apples remain, like any other institutions. We must together work towards cleaning that. The public must be involved.
So let me then end on that positive note. My next question may have attracted a negative response. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Advocate Arendse. Thank you so much, General Mkhwanazi. Can we start, Honorable Sangwana?
May I, Honorable Chair, maybe before you close, there were some few things that I wanted to respond on before that were pending, if you allow me, sir.
Okay.
It will be less than 5 minutes. One of them was the issues of the person that was said to be a private investigator. We did respond to that. That is Rashad Ismail. That name was given already. The issue of Sergeant Mlotro, I think I've responded to that. There's no case open in Cape Town. The matter of Nhlanhla case of the Eastern Cape, the communication I received was that, yes, indeed, after the decision, when the dockets were in Pretoria, the decision was taken at the head office that the docket will go back to Eastern Cape, the ones in KZN will go to KZN. But the National Commission looks like the family had complained about the progress on that investigation. National Commission has taken a decision that the docket will then go back to the PKTT. So I'm sure the status on that will be provided. There was, Honorable Chair and members, a matter that you did not probe, which I felt that I wanted to raise it, not in details, the issue of the SIU reports. SIU they keep on giving reports, and some of them that were given, which the members start touching on, not directly, about the PPEs. You know, these personal protective equipment that were bought during the COVID-19. I think Gerald Vuma came here and spoke about those. It is my understanding that SIU had issued a report. I don't know if it's SIU, but there was an investigation that was conducted that implicate both the police supply chain and Treasury. And to some degree, it looks like Gerald Fani was the head of procurement at the National Treasury. And that came to the police. That played a role at the time when these PPE issues came into light. I'm not sure to what extent has that been implemented. I know of the SIU report, it was presented to all members, which was called 9/11. The SIU report that indicated the irregularities with the procurement of the police headquarters, which is Vacha Ace building in Pretoria. It is that SIU report that influenced the purchase of a telecom towers. I was the person charged with the responsibility of procuring telecom towers. I have never been asked about the telecom towers. I just heard the talks that were happening here. We bought it through Public Works. We are not the primary to buy. We were looking for facilities. Treasury was approached by Public Works because Telkom were making the space available. Treasury said, the place is too big for us. We must share with SARS. SARS refused to move. And then there were other departments that could be accommodated. Treasury said, no, we don't share with anyone else except SARS. So Treasury remained in what was called at the time, I don't know now, it was called the most expensive lease of government that we had in Pretoria. But they continue staying in that building. And as a result, Public Works approached the police, and the police came there. We said, our needs are bigger than this facility. However, we will do with this facility to ease the lease budget. At that time, our lease budget was sitting at 1.5 billion rand. And we were paying, not renting to own. We were just dishing out the money, making people rich with nothing in return. And so we then decided to agree with Public Works that we're going to take the building. We had to pay deposit, which we did. And towards the end of the year, we paid another balance and we got the building secured. When we bought that building, Honorable Chair and members, it was, as you see, this chamber. Furniture, carpet, cameras, lights, everything as this. Only thing we did was to come with cabling, electronic equipment for our computers, we plugged it in. The only thing that Telkom was supposed to do in Public Works was to fix the aircon system that they've switched off, because it was a central system. They were going to pay 20 million rand to get that fixed themselves. That was part of the deal. Then Public Works were supposed to employ a space planner to allocate spaces of offices to the staff that are coming from other buildings. That was the project. I left that project like that. I went to HRT. The CFO at the time, Gerald Skede, took that file. He kept it in a safe. There was no movement from that day. Then the building was then vandalized. More things were stolen in the building. The furniture that was there was stolen. There was equipment in the gym that is even bigger than what we have in some of these gyms that we know. That was in that building. That building was that good for the police to occupy, but it was frustrated by our own members who were against us moving out of our lease buildings. And it was frustrated by members from Public Works who made sure that we don't go in there. So that delay caused that building to be vandalized. And later, when they started talking about the renovations and so forth, it was after effect. Today, we hear about the structural issues of the building that is not safe. I don't know how many years that building has been standing there. It's been standing for years. Suddenly, when the police must move in, it's got structural defect. It's going to collapse. It's dangerous. I'd like to put it here before this ad hoc committee that that building, it's something that need to be investigated. The entire lease portfolio of the police must be investigated. I believe over R1 billion spent in a building that today stands as a white elephant cannot just go unchallenged like that. We were involved. We must be held to account for that, because I'm one of them. But nobody bothers to involve me in that, because I was there when this whole project started. But I don't know what happened thereafter. Nobody bothers to talk to me about it. So but in closing, is to say that when the SIU reports are produced, we might need to be checking to what extent are these reports being followed, be it Tembisa Hospital or many other things. They point to the wrong, but they're not an investigation arm of government, so they don't enforce whatever the recommendations they put in place. So that's what I thought I must highlight here, Chair. I would have wanted to talk more about these telecom towers, but I cannot. Maybe as a summary from my side, I must thank all the members. I remain a civil servant, not a politician. You are all leaders, and I appreciate the role that you play in society. You lead us, guide us, and make us to account where we have to account. You represent the people of South Africa. We are employed to service the people of South Africa. So hold us accountable for what we're supposed to do, but also give us guidance and support where we need. When we point out deficiencies in our system, help us to change that. If it's legislation, help us to change that. If it's a policy, help us to change that. And if we can all work in working together like that, I'm sure we can achieve a lot. There is so many wrong in our country. What we did was not to undermine any of the leaders, deliberately or otherwise, was to point out the systematic failures. And we've said here earlier, some of the parliamentarians, politicians, they themselves fall victim. We still believe Minister Mkhwanazi is a victim of the members of the police that made him to do things that he ended up doing. That brings us here today. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you so much, General. Chief Whip.
No, Chair, thank you very much. I think first and foremost, we must convey our appreciation to you as the chair of the ad hoc committee. I have no doubt in my mind that this has been a very difficult journey. We started at a time when I suppose some among us may have doubts about the extent to which all of us will be committed to a genuine undertaking to search for the truth. But I think time since we began up to today has to a very large extent exonerated all of us. And I think it's important. One must also thank the colleagues. Of course, we still have a big responsibility led by our legal team to put together a report with a set of recommendations that are practically implementable. But I think it has been a very good lesson, Chairperson. We have every reason to be proud of the work we've done. We could not have met everybody we wanted to meet, but I think the ground we've covered is sufficient for us to make an informed contribution for Parliament to consider. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chief Whip. Honorable Nomvalo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, we want to extend our heartfelt appreciation to you. And when we say to you, we are not exaggerating. We are saying this from the bottom of our heart. For your leadership, the leadership that you have provided here. This has not been an easy platform. It has been a dynamic platform because it consists of members who come from different organizations. But your logic has always prevailed and has always reigned supreme. even during difficult times. You have been a glue. We've never felt that you are the chair of the ANC. We felt that you are the chair of the committee, not a chair of a particular political party. So for your leadership, Chairperson, we commend you, and we want to give assurance that there's so much that we have learned from this committee. Within the very, I won't say it has been a short period because we started last year, I think in August, but we've learned so much. We've learned collectivism. We've learned a new challenge, and we believe that we've done justice to South Africans by rising to the challenge. We also want to thank members of this committee for rising to the occasion and for treating this committee as a convergence of ideas. We also want to thank witnesses who have appeared. Even though we had reservations with some witnesses who have appeared here, some became honest to the oath that they took here. Some told lies, peddled lies, but we believe that lies have short legs. They run faster, but they never finish the race. So the work that we're going to do here during deliberations and during consolidating the report is going to separate lies from the truth. We also want to thank the staff members with whom we always sympathize for working beyond their normal hours. The work that they've done is quite amazing, and they must know that they've not only been doing the work that they've done for members here, but they've been doing this work for the entire country, for the entire South Africa. I once had a conversation, Chair, with the Secretary. We met on the streets of Parliament. The Secretary of Parliament, Mr. Xolile George, he was commending the work that is being done by this committee. And he was saying, we have also improved the viewership for Parliament. People are now watching Parliament because of this committee. So there's so much work that has been done by this committee. People are now having a renewed sense of hope because people had lost confidence in Parliament because it appeared to be a ceremonial reign which pursues a certain political and factional interest. But because of dynamism and impartiality and objectivity that we have displayed here, the hopes of the people of South Africa have been renewed. We also want to thank our organization, the MK Party, for giving us an opportunity to represent it here, and members of the MK Party at large for giving us support that they've given to us. We believe that even though we're human beings, we might have committed mistakes here and there, but we have done everything in our power to represent their views and their aspirations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Breitenbach.
Thank you, Chair. In particular, Chair, thank you to you. I never thought I would utter those words, but there we go. Thank you for the manner in which you've chaired this committee. Let's call it your calmness has settled the waters on many an occasion. I'd like to thank my colleagues on the committee for their hard work and dedication from all the parties, and more particularly my own colleagues who have worked really hard. The evidence leaders, the researchers, and the staff have done a phenomenal job, more so than any of us, Chair. They've worked longer, harder, and their work is now starting. They have to help us finalize the report and deal with the determination. So I thank them. The evidence leaders, the parliamentary legal advisors have done an outstanding job, and we thank them. And also the press, Chair, who have covered this committee with great professionalism and made it possible for everyone in South Africa to, I hesitate to use the word enjoy, but to watch this committee. And then to the people who appeared, Chair, the witnesses, some were honest, some weren't, but some came at great risk to themselves, and so I thank them for coming. Thank you.
Honorable Matthys.
Where do I start? Uh, Thank you, Chair. I thought it's a bit premature because we still have to go into deliberations and our final report, so we don't know how we're going to emerge on the other side. But so far, in terms of the proceedings, we do appreciate it. We are grateful for how you've handled and how you've chaired the committee. We have fought with you, we have fought with each other, but I think we have all displayed as members of parliament a level of maturity that it didn't tiptoe or spill over into how we were able to do our work. I echo what my colleagues have said, say thank you to the staff of parliament, the cleaners, the catering team, the media as well. It's been a great pleasure to be in this environment. So we appreciate that. Yeah, thank you, Chair. And let's see how we emerge on the other side after our report. Thank you, Chair.
Ngazita.
Well, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Well, firstly, one wants to express a word of appreciation to you, Honorable Chairperson, for your exceptional leadership of this committee and the manner in which you actually, led us. It was indeed very professional and exemplary in the sense that there will actually be lessons that we will learn from the manner in which you conducted yourself in the leadership of this committee. We thank you for that. And do want also to thank our colleagues, the honorable members, for their incisive cross-examination of witnesses that had appeared before us. Although sometimes there would be robust your engagements that had to be expected. We are all politicians from different political backgrounds. But all the same, I do want to thank honorable colleagues for the sterling work that we actually have done. Thank you also to the witnesses out there who actually came to give us some information that we were looking for in order to be able to do our work. Thank you to the support staff. And colleagues, we yet have a tall task ahead of us. This was the first leg of our task, and I think the biggest task is what then do we do with all the evidence that we have collected? I know that the real work is yet to begin, where we would actually put together a report and make recommendations. I'm saying this because I know for a fact that people out there have very high expectations about the outcome of this process. So they are pinning their hopes on the outcome of this process. So
we dare not disappoint. So thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Souls.
Honorable Chairperson, maybe I should start by thanking you for your benevolence that is sometimes unequally extended, but we thank you anyway. To my fellow colleagues in the committee, every single one of you, thank you very much for the robust engagements at times. And to the evidence leaders, more specifically the feminine side of the evidence leaders, and our SC, looks like it's close to pension. But very vibrant in his work. And so we want to thank him. We had a very great time with him, the media, our caterers, the food was very nice. Very, very nice. We even had prawns. No? To our staff, every one of our staff, especially the ladies at the door, every morning, they never lack smiles, and we want to say thank you to them. And to South Africa, especially the patriots in South Africa, our general, I want to say thank you for, especially for admitting that you too have shortcomings and you have holes. We obviously chose to focus on your heroism tonight, and that was intentional and not your holes. To preserve the integrity of our committee, because we are also still verifying some issues around your holes. We decided tonight we must focus on genuinely your heroism. You know, we take the lesson from you that oftentimes the right information in the wrong room is dangerous. So I want to speak to every patriot tonight. What you saw tonight, just recently, was a display of what I call the art of politics. A handwritten letter by a fraudster in prison was sent to an MKP member and came to our national hero via his cousin. MKP and our national hero saw it fit to read untested and unverified allegation on the last day of the sitting of this committee. That information implicates, obviously, our president and our deputy president in the Patriotic Alliance. But to every patriot in South Africa, this is our last day. I want to say to all of you who knows us, who knows me, it's going to get worse. The fire will be turned 7 times hotter. We're going to see more. But the God we serve is going to ensure that what is meant for evil will turn out for our good. Honorable Gayton Mackenzie and Honorable Kenny Kunene are honorable. They are not part of drug cartels. Crime is their past, and presidency is their future. How do we know? God gave us victory tonight in Ward 7 in Beyers Nodia. Patriots, Moni Baizane. God has entered the ring. When the room is right and the facts are verified, we will deal even with the general's holes. But today, we continue to celebrate you, General, as our national hero. We are very genuine about that tonight. A lion doesn't roar whilst hunting. It only roars after the kill. We love you, South Africa. Once again, Moni Baizane. Moni Baizane. In English, don't be sad. Away.
Honorable Vessels.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Let me also start by thanking you for taking up the difficult task of leading these proceedings and chairing this committee. It was definitely not an easy task, but it is very easy for someone to sit on the pavilion and criticize what's going on the field. But it's much more difficult to be on the field and make the decisions. And that's what you had to do. Let me thank you for the calmness as well with how you dealt with difficult situations and volatile situations in the committee. Let me also thank the evidence leaders and the team, the support staff for all the hard work. Without them, this would not have been possible. And also all the other parliamentary staff that also have to be here every evening or till in the morning, hours of the morning, working behind the scenes and taking care of the important aspects, also to the members of the media and also all the colleagues, the members of the committee, for the robust debates, but also the way that we could have conducted ourselves in the interest of getting the work done. Chairperson, the important work starts now, and that is to produce findings and recommendations that will bring about change and contribute to fixing the criminal justice system to the benefit of South Africans, to assist in bringing about a safer South Africa for all. Thank you very much.
Honorable James.
Thank you so much, Chair. Fresh off the streets of Eldorado Park, first term MP, alternate member, the least amount of time. Thank you to Action SA for entrusting me with this mammoth task. I've learned so much. Chair, when I stepped into this committee, I questioned ANC chairperson met al hierdie ANC goede nooit nie. But today I want to say to you, if I must choose again, I will choose you. There are definitely still good people in this party.
Thank you so much.
You have made me proud. I will always remember, my kids now use that line on me, do not breathe down the witness necks when I speak to them. Thank you so much for the many lessons. Thank you for the growth. I've learned so much from you. I've matured. We end this committee here. I'm a better person, I feel, because of the contribution you and many of my colleagues here has made in my life. With the research team, Action SA research team, near Mensa, ek moet sê, they are the best. Thank you so much for all you've done, the extra hours, the running around. You know, I like to run to police stations and run to get evidence. Thank you so much for never complaining, for going the extra mile. I think they knew that a part of this ad hoc, what was happening here, was very personal to me. So they went the extra mile. I appreciate them. To my family, it wasn't easy, but thank you so much for your support and sitting up with me. and just being there. South Africans, thank you so much for the many memes, made me laugh. Thank you so much for the criticism. I found growth in it. Thank you so much for the motivation, stopping me wherever, encouraging us. It really meant a lot. Thank you for the questions. It helped guide us. Evidence leaders, well done, I'm proud. Thank you so much for leading us and guiding us as well. The staff of Parliament, the media in the corner. Yeah, thank you so much to you as well. Most importantly, to God, every morning when I woke up, I said, God, guide my footsteps, guide my mouth, all about you, nothing about me. And he surely did that, I believe. Whenever I spoke, I was so nervous. Like I said, it was my first time. It was so overwhelming knowing that the entire South Africa is watching. Thank you for reminding us of the young girls that was looking while we were having our days now and again. Thank you to everyone. Finally, it's time to get back to the real work. Something that I've been looking forward to is that report to South Africans. I cannot wait to make them proud. Thank you, Chair.
Advocate Arendse.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair, for your leadership, your guidance, your advice in many private discussions we had on various things. Thank you to the committee members over the past few months. We have struck up relationships with all the parties, and we thank them for their support. Of course, thank you to the Speaker and to our Parliament for giving us the privilege of serving the country and serving the people of this country. Thank you to my colleagues, Advocate Mkhwanazi, Advocate Mkhwanazi, Advocate Nhlanhla, who unfortunately left us towards the end of last year, for their extremely hard work and what they've done behind the scenes to make all of this possible. And then, of course, to Andile, Tatiana, and his parliamentary legal team for all the hard work. The witnesses, all of them, ranging from Nhlanhla and Apollo Sullivan, and of course, most recently, General Mkhwanazi. What a combination. But I must say that with all of them, and I think it assisted in at least bringing them forward. I know some of the witnesses were not as truthful as others, but we got on and consulted with them and ensured that they turned up and they gave their evidence in the best way they could. Their lawyers, almost all the witnesses that came before this committee had lawyers, a team of lawyers, so we've had to engage with them on many issues. So having said all of that, everything worked out well. I think the committee presented the issues that arise from General Mkhwanazi's 6th of July press conference. I think the people of this country have a much better idea, maybe not all the answers, but they have a much better idea of how the law enforcement agencies work, the police in particular, which is so key to their lives, especially our poorer communities that engage with the police on a daily basis. And hopefully they will be encouraged by what has happened over the past few months, and that this committee will be guided by doing the right thing when it comes to recommending to the National Assembly the remedial measures that clearly needs to be taken to correct a lot of the wrongs that we've heard from various witnesses. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, honorable members. Let me thank you for the messages that you have given to the people of South Africa. Indeed, we must thank them for having afforded us an opportunity at their homes to be with them every day. South Africans have not been eating, they have not been sleeping. They have been watching this committee all the time. Even now, they are still watching us. They hear you when you give this beautiful closing remarks. I want to thank you, honorable members, for your attitude. I have been taught that the word attitude is the only word in the English dictionary that gives you 100%. If you take the letters that make the word and put equivalent numbers against those letters, A will be 1 and T will be the number it becomes. When you get to the sum total of those letters, it gives you 100. That is the only word that gives you 100 in the English dictionary. And that is why they will summarize it by saying that your attitude determines your altitude. And that for you to be tall, you can never be tall unless you know who is tall around you. So you are the tall people who have made your chairperson to be tall. And for that, I want to thank you so much. We did not always have easy moments, but because we had the right attitude, we have been able to take each other by the hand and walk the road, honorable souls, from the day the Lord has made to this day that the Lord has made. And for that, I want to thank you so much. And I heard honorable members reiterate and say we still have work to do. We must go and do that work and ultimately adopt the report that we will present before the National Assembly. I want to thank the evidence leaders for the sterling work that they have done until we conclude business with the last witness today. Thank you so much, Advocate Arendse. And once again, thank you so much for bringing these women. When they came here before us, they were young, but today they are fully grown women who can go out and fend for themselves. We want to thank you and thank them for growing under your tutelage. We thank the staff of Parliament. We thank Mr. Tejana. We have not always agreed with him when he was presenting legal opinions before our meetings. But he did a brilliant job, and for that we must thank him so much. Dr. Tuli, thank you so much. Gentlemen, Ramano and Pilot, you have been sitting here with me every day. ensuring that there is proper coordination for the work of the committee, and we want to thank you so much. Thank you, Delana, Ms. Silkstone. We want to thank you so much. You must go and tell Fanzail Nicolette that we are very appreciative of the work that she has done. There are members of staff who always sit behind those equipments there from the communications section of Parliament. We want to thank them so much for making sure that South Africans are able to follow the proceedings happening here. Raja, for always releasing statements every week informing the people about the proceedings here. We want to thank you so much, the staff of Parliament, the staff of political caucuses. Your principals have always come to these meetings prepared because of the work that you have done. I remember one day when there were honorable members who joined the proceedings late, they were still able to contribute relevantly in the proceedings because of the work that you have done and the support that you gave them. And we want to thank you so much. Honorable Breitenbach has thanked the members of the media for their professional reporting. I reiterate that statement. There is a team here, honorable members, which is still here. It's a team of cleaners. Every time we use this venue, we come out, they get in immediately to clean this venue so that if there is any committee or any activity of Parliament which is going to happen the following day, they find the venue ready. And we must thank them for that. Babalwa, thank you so much. We want to thank you for the support that you have given us in this committee, working ably with Ramano and Pilot to ensure that the committee activities are properly coordinated. And every time we come here, we find everything in order. There is no more time, honorable members, to call you one by one. There is no more time. We have come to the end of the proceedings. What will happen is that tomorrow, today and tomorrow, there will be no committee activities. And then members will be informed about the next activity. Do you want to say something, Honorable Matthys? Okay. General Mkhwanazi, we want to thank you so much. We release you from your oath. Honorable members, you may stand up and leave the chambers.